This is a brief summary of what happened between Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the Nigerian government, which clearly stated that the Nigerian government despises the Igbos. I'm referring to the eastern part of Nigeria. We have seeded and gathered some information about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the unlawful judgment that was given to him because he is from the eastern part of Nigeria, which will never happen to an Igbo, Hausa, or Yoruba man, which is why the Igbos want to use the name Biafra. So relax while we unfold those to you in a brief video.
Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is a British Nigerian political activist and the leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra (IPOB), a group he founded in 2012. His life story is defined by his transition from a relatively obscure activist to one of the most prominent and controversial figures in Nigerian politics. Early life and background. Born Nwankani Nnamdi Okwu Kanu on September 25, 1967, he grew up in Isiama Afara Ukwu, Umuahia, in Abia State. He was born into a royal family. His father, Is Israel Okwu Kanu, and his mother, Ugos Nen Kanu, were traditional monarchs. He attended Library Avenue Primary School and Government College Umuahia for his secondary education. He later studied at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka UNN, but moved to the United Kingdom before graduating. In the UK, he continued his studies, receiving a degree in political economics from London Metropolitan University, and eventually became a naturalized British citizen. Rise to prominence. Radio Biafra. Kanu first gained public attention around 2009 through Radio Biafra, a London-based station. Originally established by the defunct Biafran government in 1967, Kanu revived it to broadcast messages advocating for the independence of the Igbo people and the restoration of the Republic of Biafra. His broadcasts were known for being highly provocative, often referring to Nigeria as a zoo, and calling for civil disobedience. While critics accused him of inciting violence and spreading hate speech, his message resonated with millions of supporters in southeast Nigeria and the diaspora, who viewed him as a freedom fighter, standing up against institutional marginalization. Legal battles and Operation Python Dance. Kanu's activism led to a decade-long legal conflict with the Nigerian government. 2015 arrest. In October 2015, Kanu was arrested in a hotel room in Lagos upon his return to Nigeria. He was charged with treasonable felony and belonging to an unlawful society. Bail and disappearance. After nearly 2 years in detention, he was granted bail in April 2017 on health grounds. However, in September 2017, his home in Abia State was raided by the Nigerian military during Operation Python Dance 2. Following the raid, Kanu disappeared from public view for over a year. Re-arrest in Kenya. In June 2021, the Nigerian government announced that Kanu had been intercepted in Kenya and extradited back to Nigeria to face trial for terrorism and jumping bail. Recent developments. As of late 2025, Nnamdi Kanu's legal saga reached a major turning point. On November 20, 2025, a federal high court in Abuja convicted him on counts of terrorism and treasonable felony. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. Throughout his trials, Kanu has maintained his identity as a convert to Judaism, often appearing in court wearing a Jewish prayer shawl tallit and head covering. While his legal team continues to challenge his conviction, he remains a central figure in the ongoing debate over Nigerian unity and the right to self-determination. The legal battle and international fallout surrounding Mazi Nnamdi Kanu intensified significantly in late 2024 and 2025. Following his conviction, his defense team and international supporters have shifted their strategy toward challenging the legality of the trial itself and seeking diplomatic intervention. The conviction and legal defense strategy. On November 20, 2025, Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja sentenced Kanu to life imprisonment on 7 counts related to terrorism. The no defense stand. In a bold and risky legal move, Kanu refused to enter a formal defense during the final stages of his trial. He argued that there was no valid charge against him and that the court lacked jurisdiction. He essentially rested his case on the prosecution's evidence, claiming it failed to prove any crime. Controversy over repealed laws. Kanu's legal team and his brother, Prince Emmanuel Kanu, have publicly alleged that the judge convicted him using laws that had already been repealed or were no longer in force. They have labeled the judgment a predetermined script. Failed appeals. On November 28, 2025, the Court of Appeal in Abuja struck out a separate appeal by Kanu regarding his fundamental rights concerning his treatment in custody, ruling that the matter had become academic, now that he had already been convicted and moved to prison. International reactions and diplomatic pressure. The life sentence has triggered a wave of reactions from international bodies and foreign governments. Stakeholder position action. United States Republican Congressman John James linked Kanu's conviction to claims of anti-Christian persecution in Nigeria. There has been a push within the U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee to view Kanu's case through the lens of religious and political repression. United Kingdom is a British citizen. Kanu's family has repeatedly sued the UK Foreign Office for failing to take a firm stand against his extraordinary rendition from Kenya. While the UK provides consular visits, the British government has faced criticism for procrastination in intervening decisively. United Nations, the UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention, has previously called for his unconditional release, citing the illegal nature of his 2021 extradition. These findings remain a cornerstone of his international defense. European Union human rights activists, including members of the Austrian Committee for NATO, have called on EU leaders like Kaja Kallas to sanction Nigeria until Kanu is liberated. Current status: December 2025. Nnamdi Kanu is currently reported to be held in Sokoto prison rather than the DSS custody where he spent the previous 4 years. His supporters, under the banner of IPOB, have rejected the sentence entirely, maintaining that he is a political prisoner. The situation remains a tinderbox for the southeast region of Nigeria, with ongoing debates about whether the government will eventually seek a political solution such as a presidential pardon to maintain regional stability. As we approach the end of 2025, the situation surrounding Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has moved from a protracted trial to a high-stakes legal and security crisis. Following his life sentence on November 20, 2025, the focus has shifted to the Supreme Court and the volatile atmosphere in southeast Nigeria. 1. The Supreme Court appeal. The repealed law argument. Kanu's legal team, led by barrister Joku Jude Joku, is preparing an appeal centered on what they call a jurisdictional error by the trial court. The statutory framework. The defense argues that Kanu was convicted based on the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013. However, they claim this law was repealed by the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022. The prosecution's counter. The government maintains that Section 98 of the 2022 Act allows cases started under the old law to be continued to their conclusion. Double jeopardy and extrajudicial rendition. The appeal also revisits the 2021 extraordinary rendition from Kenya, arguing that because the initial abduction was illegal under international law, no Nigerian court has the moral or legal standing to sentence him. 2. Current detention. The move to Sokoto prison. In a significant departure from the last 4 years, Kanu is no longer in the custody of the Department of State Services (DSS) in Abuja. Sokoto Correctional Center. Following his sentencing, he was moved to a high-security facility in Sokoto. Rejected. Transfer request. On December 8, 2025, a federal high court rejected Kanu's emergency motion to be moved back to Abuja or Kuya. His lawyers argued that being in Sokoto hinders his access to legal counsel for his appeal, but the judge ruled that the move was necessary for security reasons, citing previous jailbreaks in the capital. 3. Security situation in the Southeast. December 2025. The conviction has sent shockwaves through the Southeast, leading to a tense and grim atmosphere as the Christmas season approaches. Permanent sit-at-home. Despite IPOB's official leadership occasionally calling for calm, many residents in cities like Onitsha, Aba, and Nui have vowed to continue the Monday sit-at-home indefinitely until Kanu is freed. Markets, schools, and banks remain largely closed every Monday, resulting in billions of naira in weekly losses. Military. Operation Udo Ka. The Nigerian military has intensified raids against suspected Eastern Security Network (ESN) camps. Just this month, December 3 to 12, 2025, troops reported neutralizing several cells and raiding a local weapon fabrication workshop in Ihiala, Anambra State. The unknown gunman factor. While IPOB claims the sit-at-home is now voluntary, security reports suggest that breakaway factions and criminal elements continue to use Kanu's imprisonment as a pretext for violence, creating a climate of fear for the local population. 4. International posture. There is growing pressure from the United States Congress and British Parliament. Specifically, some U.S. lawmakers have begun labeling the case a religious and political persecution, given Kanu's Jewish faith and the lopsided nature of the charges. His family continues to sue the UK Foreign Office, demanding they take a firm view on his illegal rendition to force a diplomatic release. As we approach the final days of December 2025, the situation surrounding Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has evolved from a legal case into a full-scale international diplomatic row and a severe regional economic crisis. 1. The U.S. congressional response. A red line. The U.S. government's involvement reached a fever pitch following Kanu's life sentence on November 20, 2025. Congressional hearings. Representative John James, former chairman of the Africa Subcommittee, has become the leading voice for Kanu in Washington. During a recent hearing, he explicitly linked Kanu's detention to religious and political repression, stating that the detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is a clear example of Nigeria signaling that the law is optional. The Trump factor. U.S. President Donald Trump has recently threatened military intervention and heavy sanctions against Nigeria over what he terms the mass killing of Christians and the breakdown of the rule of law. Country of particular concern, CPC. The U.S. is moving to redesignate Nigeria as a CPC. This designation would trigger aid restrictions and sanctions against specific Nigerian officials involved in Kanu's prosecution and the ongoing security crackdown in the southeast. 2. The economic toll. A region at its breaking point. The sit-at-home orders, originally intended as a short-term protest to demand Kanu's release, have devastated the southeast economy over the last 4 years. Metric estimated impact as of late 2025. Total economic loss 7.6 trillion nairas, $4.6 billion lost since 2021. Micro businesses losing approximately 4.6 trillion nairas annually. Transport sector forfeiting 10 billion nairas minus 13 nairas billion every Monday. Human cost 776 confirmed deaths and 332 violent incidents linked to enforcement. Epicenters of loss: Imo State, highest fatalities, and Anambra, highest commercial loss. Small-scale traders and artisans report income drops of 50–70%. Major hubs like Onitsha Main Market and Ariaria Market in Aba remain ghost towns on Mondays, leading to a massive flight of capital to other regions like Lagos or neighboring countries. 3. The judiciary under fire. Kanu's legal team and international observers have raised serious concerns about the fairness of the trial that led to his life sentence. The bomb plot allegation. In a controversial move, the trial judge, Justice James Omotosho, included a claim in his judgment that Kanu planned to bomb US and UK missions in Nigeria. Defense rejection. US-based pro-Igbo advocacy groups and Kanu's lawyers have labeled this a fabrication and a manufactured lie, noting that this charge was never part of the official proceedings or evidence. They argue this was added solely to demonize Kanu in the eyes of the international community. Current outlook. As 2025 ends, the Supreme Court of Nigeria remains the final legal battleground. However, many analysts believe the solution is now purely political. With the U.S. threatening sanctions and the southeast economy nearing total collapse, there is mounting pressure on the Nigerian presidency to consider a pardon or a political settlement to prevent further escalation.